Okay. I mean, I like to play, the sweeper for the show. Yeah, so that you understand when we're talking body and soul. I know that for the first few months, or we've been doing body and soul for a couple of months now. And for the first few months, we've been largely medical. I've had my experts come in and break it down, give you all the terms, the heavy ones, the ones that sound like they're terminal diseases, that you're like, oh my God, I don't want to associate with, and all of that. Well, on Body and Soul tonight, we're doing it a little bit differently. And that's because, first of all, I'm lining up my medical heavyweights. My guest here was just cutting me eye now because I said he's not medical, forgetting that he has a background in medical sciences.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's not just any kind of medical science, it's the human body, the anatomy of the human body. So anatomist by training, noisemaker by life.
Profession at life.
Yes, so Daniel, the big one, is here in this capacity today on Body and Soul. And we're going to be talking about something that is very interesting. Now, we started Body and Soul with conversations around sexual and reproductive health. Mm-hmm. We've dealt to some extent. I would say that I will have to come back to sexual health at some point, but we went from a bit of conversations around sexual health, and then we veered off into reproductive health, talking about matters around fertility. And today on reproductive health, we're looking at family planning, especially as regards contraception. And because my guest in the house today is going to be speaking for the men, which a lot of you like. You would just like it when the big one starts to talk. Hey, yes, that's true. That's what I wanted to say. Well, today we're going to see if he can get us into this conversation that I want to have, because I couldn't have had it by myself. We're talking about contraceptives for men. Somebody ring the bell. Ring, 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 ring. Contraceptives for men as part of our reproductive health conversation around family planning. Okay? So for the people who don't have sexual dysfunction issues, which we started with, for the people who don't have fertility issues like we started with, you're a very virile man, It's virility. Your virility is high. Your ginger, your seed is willing to be spread about, to be populated. The conversation around contraception comes up. As we like to do, we'll start with contraception for men, and then we get into contraception for women. But the big one is here today, and he's going to get us into the first angle of the conversation. Can I say thank you once more for joining me here this evening, boss?
You're welcome, Moss.
All right, we are streaming. You want to go to Facebook and YouTube to join us on the stream, ask your questions. Men, get in here. I know that typically the men in the listening family are not shy, so I expect that we're going to have a very hearty, very healthy conversation here. Feel free to bring your questions. To the best of his ability, our anatomist by training will help answer some questions. Okay, so when they say contraceptives, basically, a lot of people think women, they typically don't associate that term with men. I'm saying typically because for some people, their understanding of how a man can contribute to the birth control conversation is use of condoms. And it typically doesn't go beyond that, but there are different aspects to a male contraceptives. Condoms, of course, being the most popular one that we know of. We also have vasectomies, which is where you have a surgical procedure that prevents sperm from traveling out of the testis and into the semen. That, for some people, is considered a very extreme step to take, but life happens sometimes, and these things just have to be done. It's considered as more suitable for men who are sure they don't want any more children.
Yeah.
And the men who are celebrities will be, if they're bold enough, will sit very comfortably on this table, because some women have been known to play this card just so that they can entrap the men. I've heard of everything from stealing the condoms when they've been, ejaculated into, and then going to perform some kind of around the way kind of procedure just so that they can get pregnant for you as a man, and say you father this child. And DNA is a whole thing in these days where we are, and if some women want to trap you, they will trap you. Nothing that you can do. So some men actually take steps like that. extreme as it may be. So yes, that's a form of contraceptive as well for men. And then there are also research-based methods called reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance, aka RISUG, where a non-hormonal injectable will be put into you and it will cause the sperm to lose motility and the ability to fertilize an egg. Again, if you have been following this conversation from the weeks that we've had coming before, the word motility is not new to you. I expect that a lot of us understand it, except you missed out on those episodes where we had Dr. Felix talk about motility and all of that. So see why we came from where we came from? All right. So these are 3 ones that I know of. I'm sure if we had the medical professionals, they would give us some other ones. But the most common of all of this when we're talking about male contraceptives are the condoms.
Yeah.
So let's have a conversation around condoms today, especially with men. The big one.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about using condoms to start with? Is it something that men usually like to do? I've heard some things, but I'd like to hear from the men.
So we're speaking about in context. What do you call it now?
Usage, just generally, first and foremost, before we get to its tool as contraception. Yes,
yeah. Can you
as a
imagine?
contraceptive.
I was thinking of the word contraception and sort of escaped for a moment.
Okay.
Now, it is always better to be safe than sorry, right? And so that is the reason why you tell people again and again to use protection. Mm-hmm. Now, in this case, protection as a means of contraception. But in general, if the person that you're getting into sexual relations with is not your partner, by partner, I mean, I'm more of the traditional person who believes so much in doing this within a marriage. But if your blood is hot and you cannot zip up, which I absolutely go for, yes.
You go for your blood is hot and you cannot zip up?
Zip up.
Or you cannot then zip up. Okay, the way you said it was like one line and I had to be
Okay,
sure.
no. So I'm trying to divide it. So
Okay.
if you can't zip up, which I stand for, zipping up, then definitely protection is your next best bet. Do not go and say, oh, I can do the withdrawal method. When I'm about to ejaculate, I'll just pull out. Then I will... You could contract a disease one way or the other. You understand? You want to be very, very careful about it. I know a lot of people are going to come out and say, oh, with condoms, the sensation is different. You don't feel it the way
But
it
the
is.
sensation is different, isn't it?
Is it
For real,
different
for
for the
real.
women?
I believe it is.
It is.
I believe it is.
You've never felt it?
No, felt what?
A condom and raw flesh. Which one?
You had to personalize it, didn't you?
Yes. I'm asking as a woman.
As a woman, I think that it's different. What you get with a condom and what you get without a condom, clearly there are differences. The question is, are you willing to sacrifice the pleasure?
The intensity of pleasure for safety. Yes.
Yes.
By all means.
That's if you're willing to do that.
By all means. Sacrifice the intensity of pleasure for
Oh,
safety.
you're putting it out there that people
I am
should do
putting
that.
it out there. Yes.
Okay.
Because what's the difference? So you buy a condom. At the most, 3,000 naira, 5,000 naira. You spend so much money to buy a condom. You choose either that or you're treating a disease for 100, 200, 300,000 naira.
Because you failed to use.
Because you thought, oh, let me enjoy the pleasure of this thing. I mean, throw away these condoms.
I see what
understand?
you did there.
Yes.
Well, do the other listeners agree? I mean, first of all, we're talking about the general use of it before we now get to the contraceptive conversation. So, I mean, the phone lines are open. Men, you can jump in on the conversation right now. I believe there's a man here, so it shouldn't be difficult for us to have this conversation, right? We're talking about condoms as contraceptives.
Not just condoms, but contraceptives as a whole, but specifically at this point in
Well,
time with
yes,
contraceptives. Yeah.
specifically condoms. We're going to get to the other methods. You know, I mentioned vasectomy, which is, some people's last
Permanent.
resort. Yes. And then I mentioned RISUG, I'm going to call it that, which is the reversible inhibition of sperm. There are also traditional methods, one of which the big one mentioned now, which is the withdrawal. And I think we really need to have a conversation around withdrawal as a method of contraception for males, for men. And then there's periodic abstinence. Those are the more traditional ones. I'm going to get to those ones in a
I'm going to
little
give you
bit.
one more that not very many people know about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Not now. The RISUG. Is a RISUG.
That's what I talked about. RISUG now.
I don't want to share it yet, but it was actually my project whilst I was in the university. That was what I actually graduated with. I think I was the only person, or maybe one of like 3 or 4 people in the whole of University of Maiduguri that carried out a research on contraception in the men using one natural occurring product that I'll share with you.
And that is all under the RESUG, the reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about it. So let's see if we can get past this condom one now. We've talked about its use, and why men maybe sometimes rather not do with it, rather do without it. But apart from the pleasure conversation, I also want us to have a conversation around its effectiveness as a whole, right? Because some people have said they're not 100% and all of that, but we'd like to hear from the listeners. The phone lines are opening right now and the conversation is going to keep going, but be sure to jump in, ask questions if you have any, share from your experiences talking about contraceptives in men, starting with the condoms. Okay, 07009510000 or 00959746869. On WhatsApp is 0809-993-0137. I think it was Papa Shinamite that sent me a message that was 4 minutes 22 seconds long. Please don't do that. Your message, I'm already generous with the timing on the voice notes, keeping it at 2 minutes 30. So please don't let it exceed that. Once I see it's past that time, I wouldn't even play it. So Papa Shinamite, just in case that message was for me, you might want to readjust the timing, okay? So we are talking family planning or contraceptives, but we're speaking specifically to the men. And let's move it along, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Talking about the effectiveness of condoms, what do men need to know? Because I mean, you've already put forward a position to say sacrifice the intensity of the pleasure, right? So unless anyone calls in to explain to us why they want to take a different opinion on that, we'll just move it along. Effectiveness, how effective really and truly would you consider it to be? The most effective or a very effective one that men don't have to go and do some of the other ones that sounded like they were, painful, hurtful, terminal, all of that.
So I would say that the use of condoms is the second most effective means of contraception. The first being abstinence.
Second most?
Yes.
I see.
The first being abstinence, because nobody can get pregnant from you not ejaculating in them.
No divine conception in that area.
There is no immaculate conception in that. The second would be condoms. But then again, how do you use your condoms? Right? Unfortunately, there are some crappy products out there in the market. You use it, small friction, it's torn. Whilst you're in the process of ta-ta-ta, you're so far away, you can't even hear a gunshot outside. Talk more of a torn condom. And before you know anything, you have in your orgasm, because for men, ejaculation and orgasm happens at the same time.
Yes.
So a lot of men don't know that those are two different things. Ejaculation
Even I
is different
did not
from
know
orgasm.
that.
Yeah, it is. So ejaculation is the expulsion of semen, what a lot of people call sperm.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is
I've been told those two are different too.
They are two different things.
Okay.
So semen is the seminal fluid and the sperm cell that come together to form the liquid whitish thing, right? You have the clear fluid, which some people call precum, which is seminal fluid, and then the cells themselves, the spermatozoa or spermatozoon for one, and all of that, they come together and then they form seminal fluid. Semen. In your extreme pleasure, when you're orgasming as a man, orgasms are usually a result of spasms, right, of many muscles from especially the pelvic and perineal region. If you're wondering what that is, the region around your groin all the way down to underneath, there's so much contraction that is so pleasurable that it runs throughout your entire body. That is orgasm. Men exist who have actually orgasmed without ejaculation.
Oh, wow.
I'm one of them. I've experienced it before. Orgasm without ejaculation. I've experienced it before. There are men who experience that. For women don't ejaculate.
Yes.
They orgasm. Sometimes they squirt a fluid that till tomorrow we are not still able to identify whether it is actually urine or where it comes from.
I've heard it's a mixture of urine and...
Whatever it is.
Okay.
But that is...
And that's not an ejaculation when they squirt?
That's not an ejaculation.
Okay.
It's a squirting of fluid to relieve, because there is an excessive contraction of the muscles.
Right.
Women are known to have more explosive orgasms than men. But men are so very ready to get their orgasms and get their ejaculations going so that they can move on, right? But when you're in the process of having so much fun whilst having sex and you're orgasming and ejaculating, you wouldn't know if your condom is torn or not, right? So if you have an inferior quality condom, unfortunately, depending on how much you think that you're a dondada, and you go and tear your condom, you will definitely spill semen in the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a lot of people who, and I don't understand this, whilst they are in the act of sex and they have their condoms which already have lubricants, they still use
lube.
Stuff, not just lube. They use stuff like petroleum jelly.
Oh.
Exactly.
On a lubricated condom.
On a lubricated condom.
Seems like...
Weird.
Yes.
Yes. But that will, for some reason, and I can't really explain how, more likely or more often than not, cause the condom to burst.
Yeah, because I feel like it will give it friction.
Yes.
As opposed to fluidity.
Yes. The woman is already lubricated. The condom is already lubricated. Then you're not going to carry something that is not as smooth as those guys. Petroleum jelly is not your best friend when it comes to using condoms. Don't even go there. Some people decide they want to use saliva to lubricate their condoms, dependent on if you have the saliva of a reptile that will now go and bust the condom. You get, but
toxic saliva.
Exactly. But just to let you know that the lubricant you have on your condom is good enough, combined with the lubrication of the woman.
Unless she's not lubricated, because she has a sexual dysfunction, or you didn't do your job as a man, and then you might have to consider investing in proper lube.
Proper lubricants.
Right.
Water-based lubricants, please.
I've heard about that too.
It has to be water-based lubricants, otherwise you're just... Now, as a man, if she is not lubricated, do not penetrate, because you're causing her pain. In as much as you're feeling, let me get my thing on. No, you're causing her pain.
Especially if you're using a condom.
Yes, especially because the condom is latex. Oh, by the way, did you know condoms were initially made from pig's gut? Pig's bladder, pig's gut.
What did it look like then? Did they still look like the condoms that we have now when they were made from pig's gut and blood?
I wasn't alive then.
No, but you have the information. I thought you'd have you know, as a man, you probably went and did a little more research. No.
It just came as part of the knowledge.
Was it like dried pig's gut?
So as we were saying, latex condoms.
Okay.
So you want to be mindful on how you use your condoms so that they don't break in the process. Then, of course, there are those of us brothers out there who have used condoms and in the process are like, man, she not gonna know it in the happen. Then when you are doing your ta-ta-ta-ta, you know that you want to do 10-second rest, and she too, she's feeling, breeze blow me in the right place. Then you now remove it and go back in. My brother, you will give that woman belly. Whether you like it or not, belly will come. Amen, amen.
So generally speaking, the second most effective, but it's also important that you're considering the quality of what you're buying.
Yes.
And then also there's the usage of it as well.
Exactly.
Know what to use with it.
Yes.
Know what to not use
with
it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I mean, if you have any questions, you can send them in now, because when we come back, we are moving on to another type of contraceptive for men. The big one promised us some juicy bits of information about the reversible one. So we're going to get that. We're going to get the details on that one.
Yeah.
Yes, right after this break. If you're just joining us, you're late, but not too late. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Nigeria Info 95.1 Abuja. You want to go there as well, drop your questions, and then we can attend to you. Yes, indeed. 95.1 Nigeria Info. We'll be right back after this.
Back of the biggest talk on your number one station for talk, Nigeria Info.
Your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
We are.
Connection established.
Know and hear.
When you return that money, you hear the message. Whatever is not yours, even if you kill yourself, it will not come. That's my opinion.
So do share the facts on Hard Fact.
Hard Fact.
Hard Fact. 3 to 6 p.m. Live on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info. Come, let's take you on a late night rendezvous where intimacy meets insight. Where we explore the secrets of smart lifestyle choices, sexual health, and the science of self-care. With leading medical experts guiding the conversation, we're here to educate, empower, and ignite your curiosity. Because your body and soul deserve the best. Late night just got a whole lot hotter and healthier. Body and soul, because you deserve to feel good inside and outside. Thursdays, 10 p.m. on Tonight with Somi.
It's your number one talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info, and body and soul conversations are in full effect. And I have with me this evening somebody who you have heard take on a number of issues from every other perspective except for this perspective that you're hearing him take it on today. His name is Daniel Okosun, also known as the Big One, and he is our anatomist for today, and also my special guest as we're talking about contraceptives for men. We've had the conversation around one of the most common ones, if not the most common one altogether, and we are shifting gears now because the Big One has some interesting information for us, which he said, will give us an interesting angle onto the conversation. I've said interesting twice now. What if you say it now and it's not interesting? Anyways, okay. So I'd mentioned earlier on that there is a type of contraceptive for men, or a contraceptive option for men, which is called the reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance. The reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance, if you were to put that in, what's the word now? If you were to give it, the words fail me. Call it RESUG.
Layman's English.
No. Where you shorten it and use the acronym. Thank you so much. You two know book this man. What's your problem? No. Okay, RESUG stands for Reversible Inhibition of Sperm Under Guidance, and the Big One has some information for us about it.
Okay, so I think there were some that you mentioned before. We may need to touch on those ones first before I now share the one I did.
No, I want to
with
hear
you.
this one because you see that last one is the last option.
That's the point. No. I'm talking of the other research that you mentioned. You said something about injections and...
No. So RESUG here, what we see, according to the National Institute of Health, NIH, is a non-hormonal injectable method that works by causing the sperm to lose motility and ability to fertilize an egg.
Well, somebody doesn't know what it means to lose motility now.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. We've had that conversation before with Dr. Felix. We talked about motility when we're looking at
so what is motility?
Reproductive health when it comes to men.
What is motility?
It has to do with the ability for your sperm to move from where it is to where it's supposed to be.
Okay,
in layman's terms. Am I correct?
So motility, basically like what you said, yes. Now, if you remember, we already mentioned that there's sperm cells and then there's seminal fluid,
right,
which comes together to form semen.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people do not know that little amount of liquid that you release has over 200 million cells.
Well, it's a conversation that has been had on the show here
200 to 400 million cells.
Yeah.
Of those 200 to 400 million cells, one will fertilize the egg. Now, the sperm swims. If you look at it, have you seen a tadpole before?
I have.
Yes, that is what it's.
And I have also seen simulations of sperm.
Yes. So basically, that's what spermatozoa look like. Spermatozoa.
Tadpoles.
They look like tadpoles, so they have to swim. So that swimming action is called motility.
Okay.
So what these non-hormonal treatments do is reduce the ability of the sperm to swing from point A to point B, which is the egg, basically.
You know what's funny?
What?
Is how barely a week ago, because last week with Dr. Felix, we were addressing pathways to fertility for men. And, he was suggesting how if motility is the issue, there's this treatment that they can use to get it moving. And here we're talking about... reversing it. Is life not funny? One person needs A, another person needs Z.
Of course, the other person that needs Z, when he spits, you have already given somebody quadruplets. What do you expect? You have to reduce it. It's wild. One man's poison is another man's meat. It is what it is. There are people who wish they couldn't impregnate people as much as they have. You understand? So
for some people, it's a thing of pride. It's a thing of
pride.
A man I be.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what RESUG is. You were going to tell us about the project work you did and all of that. You still want to put that off for a little bit?
Okay, since it seems as though we want to go
That's
straight
where
to
we
it.
are. Yes, that we are there. Let's do this.
Okay, so whilst at the university, I did my seminar and my project. Of course, you do a seminar for your first semester, and then you do a project for your second semester. My seminar for my first semester was to see the effect of nitrous oxide, what you call laughing gas,
right,
on the penis of the man.
Sorry, what?
Yes.
It has an effect?
Yes, it does.
What? I'm sorry, but I need to ask, what made you decide to pick that one?
So, everybody else did pretty much the same thing.
I see.
So everybody was either looking for how this affects the kidney or that affects the liver. This because it was the easiest thing to do, right? And I've always been the person who just everybody's going this
Swim
way.
against the tide.
I'm just going that way.
You want to be that sperm that
Exactly. The fertilized egg. And
I did not mean to draw that comparison. I'm sorry.
And then of blessed memory, my lecturer at the time, Dr. Dallory, he and I just had this very interesting relationship. Dr. Dallory is a lecturer like I've never seen before. Like, he was one of the most vulgar people you'd ever meet, but one of the most intelligent people. I think I've had this conversation with you before where I was trying to learn pelvis and perineum.
Right.
And in the perineum, you have areas like the scrotum, the under part where you have the entry of the vagina, and then you have the anus. And I went to meet him to learn, could you give me an idea on how to learn this thing? And the man shares adult video with me of anal penetration and says, go and learn. And I took it and I didn't even know that was what it was. But when I accessed it and I started watching, and at first I was going to be offended, but then I understood that this man is not a normal person. So try to think the way he
Clearly
thinks.
not.
And when he was done, I was able to learn, like when I finished watching the video, I now understood what he was telling me about the function
pelvis
of
and the perineum.
Yes, the pelvis and perineum, the function of elastic muscles in the perineum, the function of why you shouldn't engage in this kind of penetration, like because it will end up causing XYZ damage and so on. And I learned everything from, and so that was the kind of person I went to go and meet with my several topics.
I see.
I went through like about 23 topics and I said, for seminar this, for project this. And he just goes down, he sees kidney, liver, kidney. He's like, no. Then he sees penis. Oh, okay. And then he goes, and he sees scrotum. And so he sees testes. All right, go. Nobody else has done this yet. And so that was what made me. Okay. So in my research, I was able to find out that with excess consumption of nitrous oxide, because nitrous oxide is usually used for a number of things, especially to put people like numb you.
Medical use specifically.
To numb you. But then there are people who are addicted to it. And with extreme use, you risk...
I'm sorry. Numb you or put you under?
Pretty much.
Okay. So anesthesia?
Something like that.
Okay.
With excessive use, you lose function of your penis.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay. Word to the wise.
The physiology and the anatomy gist is plenty, but just know that when you use too much of it, you're killing nerves.
Okay.
And from killing nerves, you're not able to get it up anymore. You understand? So that was
for
research.
People, when we're having that sexual dysfunction conversation, if by mistake you fall into this category, you understand why you can't get it up.
Exactly.
So the second topic.
The second topic was the effect of Azadirachta indica on, you're going to be like, what is Azadirachta indica?
Exactly.
The effect of Azadirachta indica on spermatogenesis, aka the effect of Azadirachta indica on the cells of the testes.
Yes. So give us the layman version of is that term?
I don't want to mention it yet.
Come on.
When I finally mention it, you'll be shocked at what I'm talking about.
Okay, but it ties into research because I see you stalling on give me the full gist on research.
You've done it to me before. I'm giving it back to you. So the research required me, of course, using Wistar rats. Wistar rats are your white lab rats that you use. Now, divided into 4 groups. You have the control group, you have the minimum, medium, and maximum dosage of the liquid of this Azadirachta indica that I'm talking about. Now, at the end of a period of about 21 days of, carrying out the research, you slaughter for a person who has done this kind of research, they understand the language and
I'm sure they do.
Terminology.
You seem to want to keep the rest of us in the dark, though.
That's the point. So you slaughter the rats, and then you take, first and foremost, blood samples, and then you go ahead and take samples of the testes, right? Now, after you take a sample of the testes, you prepare the sample of the testes for what you call a histological observation, which is you're observing it under a microscope. Now, for the control group, you had normal-looking testes cells. They're called Sertoli cells, right? As you progress from medium concentration, minimum concentration, medium concentration
High.
to high concentration,
Yes.
you notice that there is a change that occurs in the testes cells, what we call the Sertoli cells. Now, these Sertoli cells are the ones that produce sperm. You have something called the seminiferous tubules. So the testes have a lot of many tiny tubes. And lining those tiny tubes are the Sertoli cells. And the Sertoli cells have something you call, they produce, so the whole process of the production of sperm cells is called spermatogenesis.
Right.
So from spermatids to spermatozoa and all of that. Now, the Sertoli cells are the cells that actually create the sperm cells that later find their way into the seminal fluid that come together and form. Now, when you look through from the minimum concentration to maximum concentration, an increased, notice, not necessarily damage, but a separation of the Sertoli cells from the lining of the seminiferous tubules. Big English, what I'm trying to say is,
Please break it down. I was
what I'm trying
waiting.
to say is every cell
Yes.
on your body usually lies, when it is in a tube,
Yes.
lies on a layer of something.
Right.
The seminiferous tubules is the layer.
Right.
The Sertoli cells stay on it to produce. But as you follow through, you now find out that it is detached. So it doesn't have an anchor to stay and do the work of production. And when that happens, it means that sperm cell production stops. But here's the beautiful thing.
There is beauty in this?
It is reversible. All you need to do is stop taking Azadirachta indica.
Okay.
And then your body begins to... You're trying to go find out what Azadirachta indica
No. I'm coming back to what led us to this.
So it's just like when your skin,
Yes.
you have an injury,
Yes.
and then you heal. So basically, what the Azadirachta indica does, the compounds, the component in it, causes the Sertoli cells to separate from the seminiferous tubules.
Okay.
And then when you stop, there's a regeneration of Sertoli cells on the seminiferous tubule.
So the ones that are detached, what's it
There you go.
Okay.
Which brings about, now it is time to tell you what Azadirachta indica is.
Finally.
Dogoyaro.
Is there what?
Dogoyaro. Neem.
Neem?
Yes.
Okay. In what form? Liquid?
Just take the leaf, blend it, finish. The same thing you drink to fight malaria. When you drink it for an extended period, it actually has a contraceptive effect.
Hold up. So Dogoyaro was literally used in a lab setting
Yes.
for your Worcester rats
Yes.
to show that this is the effect that it has
Yes.
on the male testes. Okay.
And of course, there are journals to prove this already.
And this was part of your research work?
Yes.
Okay.
When I was doing my research work for my project, I also went online to check, and there were journals that had done this from all the way in India, America, Britain, lots of places. And my work was checked by a professor from ABU, whose name I forget right now. And when he saw it, he was really fascinated and advised that I continue this project in my master's and PhD, unbeknownst to him.
That you were tired of
anatomy.
book. You didn't
And I
even
was
need
out.
to say it. I knew.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that apart from the non-hormonal injectable method
Yes.
that will cause a sperm to lose motility and the ability to fertilize an egg, the
Azadirachta indica has the ability to stop spermatogenesis as a whole, based on the gross effect it has on the seminiferous tubules and Sertoli cells.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's pretty straightforward. So it's a version of RESUG, which is
Yes.
the reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance.
Yes.
So what you've shared with us now is that there is the injectable method
And
there is the
ingestible method.
ingestible method
Yes.
from Dogoyaro and Neem. Okay. He's an anatomist by training. I say that again. And this is part of his research work. only God knows. Maybe if he had continued with it, we would have been collecting the Nobel Peace Prize by now. But he left it and decided to make noise. So you might want to do your research again and check again, because we're talking about contraceptives for men.
Yeah.
And for somebody who probably heard when I talked about the first one, the injectable method, they'd be like, with which money? I don't know. Perhaps this is an avenue that, after due research and consultation with your doctor, you know to try it and see if it works for you. Now, let's talk effectiveness. We talked about the effectiveness of condoms. With the reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance, aka RESUG, shouldn't it be, I'm thinking this is something that sounds like it should be even more effective than usage of condoms, no?
Yes, I agree with you. But which one is easier to access as per cost?
Oh, clearly the
Do
condoms.
you understand? Of course.
Yes.
Condoms like this, you don't have to think twice. Plus, it isn't something that is as long-lasting as your regular RESUG injection or ingestible. Do you understand? Condoms are right now. Do what
Yes.
you're doing and you
And
move.
go.
Hence, I gave it that second most. The third that I would place my hand on is RESUG because of cost, and not very many people.
How are
will
you
go
not
for
putting
it.
vasectomy at the top of this list?
Vasectomy is not what's that word you used again?
I said it's extreme. Like
No. What's that word you used? Most
effective.
effective.
Yes.
Why am I forgetting words this night? I'm not that tired. Okay, most effective method. Yes. But the reason why I didn't mention it is because we had not started talking about vasectomy yet.
Okay.
But if we're going to include vasectomy, bro,
What could be more permanent than a
there's-
surgical procedure
that
that
absolutely
prevents the sperm from traveling out of the testis
Completely.
and into the semen?
completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to have any other kind of conversation on vasectomy as contraceptive? Like, are there any side effects?
Of vasectomy,
yes.
apart from the fact that you will never have any children anymore.
Yes.
No other side effects.
No other side effects. I mean, it sounds as final as the word
No,
itself.
it's finality. It's the same thing as women tying their tubes.
Yes.
This is the male version of tying their tubes.
Yeah, but it sounds like it would be painful. It sounds like something that will hurt for a little bit.
Yes. It's because
Like, would you ever consider vasectomy?
No.
Even if you don't want to have children anymore? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
It's an invasive. It's an invasive procedure.
Okay.
They literally have to put you under, cut into you, get to your testes. So you have your I forget the name now, the vas deferens. They are the tubes that lead from your testes to the penis. Actually, from the testes to the urethra. Urethra is found in the penis. They cut the vas deferens and then they tie it up. That will take some time for you to heal because it is an invasive procedure. It
has to hurt.
It's an operation. It has to hurt.
It has to hurt.
They have to put you under and cut you open.
May God not allow you as a man get to the point in your life. I don't know. For some people, I'm guessing that for some men who take this decision, perhaps it's other online medical conditions, maybe that may lead to them.
No,
but if you're just doing it simply because I don't want anybody to catch me.
No, it's not catch me. There are people
With
that
my sperm
actually
inside them.
There are people that actually do not want children.
Yes, I know. But like you said, invasive and all of that. What are the things that really push you to the point where you go through this pain and go through this procedure
There are
if
people-
you don't have to?
Why would a person want to have a butt lift? They don't have to.
Oh, you had to take it there.
You had to.
Anyway, like I was saying on the vasectomy, it does sound like it'll hurt,
It
which is
will
why
hurt.
a lot of men consider it to be a last option. And so if you find yourself at the point where you have to take this decision, then it must be that you had to. You absolutely had to. Because, I mean, the RESUG sounds nice, especially if you have the ingestible versus the
Injectable.
injectable.
Can I give an example of somebody world-renowned who has done a vasectomy?
Okay.
Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo.
The other.
Ronaldo Nazario de Lima. Yes.
I mean, you know, when I said vasectomy at first, I said I'm sure a lot of celebrities will sit pretty on that table.
Ronaldo Nazario de
Something
Lima.
led to something that led to something that, but who am I? I'm just a woman. Perhaps I don't have the angles on this. So if you're listening in and you want to be a part of the conversation, I'm wondering why you haven't been a part of it already, don't be shy. Come on, man. There is a man here in the studio. And so if you don't even want me answering the question. The big one can take it on for you, but we're learning, we're sharing, okay? So, so let's talk. I've got a few messages here. Senator Elijah from Kuje wrote in earlier saying, Sister Somi, the passion and the strength when I use talk this matter is making some of the men have desire this night. Make una take them easy, I beg you. My brother, I don't know where to start from with that one. But Daniel from AYA says, and he says, Kim, but it's Somi that is here. I forgive you. He says, I'm hearing you and your guest, but not fully understanding him. You should try to calm down and explain to my understanding. All this medical terminology should be explained to the basics. Daniel from AYA with this one. Cool.
Okay, I think this was before I now made it.
Yes, when you were doing AstraZeneca in Taga. I know my people. I know what they want. So, I mean, I hope he has cleared that up for you, Daniel, from AYA. He was talking about Dogon Yaro.
Yeah.
He just wanted to keep the suspense up until the last minute.
Because it was fun doing that.
So, forgive him. Bear with him.
It was
okay.
fun. It was fun doing that.
All right. So, let's talk about these other ones very quickly, and then we will bring the conversation to a close tonight and move on to the late night request show. The big one had mentioned earlier on. One of them, which is considered a traditional method. And honestly, I want to hear from the men on this one. Even the women who may have experienced this, when the man was telling them, don't worry, I've got you. I've got you. I will just the tip.
Let me put the tip.
Just the tip.
Sisters.
And then from the tip, they will say, I will withdraw. That's one of the methods.
Can I say
one of
this
the two we're going to use to wrap up.
A lot of guys are going to be so mad at me for saying this right now.
For breaking the...
I'm about to break the bro code.
Okay.
Yes. But you see, ladies, when the man tells you just the tip, he has played you so much, because the most sensitive part of the man's genitalia is the tip.
So when he's like, I just want to taste a little bit, he has tasted the full experience.
He doesn't need to push it all
from
in.
just the tip.
Just the tip. The tip, the head, the vast, no, I forgot the name now. The head of the penis has so many nerve cells. The sensation you have on the head of the penis is pretty much the same thing you feel on the clitoris, because the clitoris is an undeveloped penis. A lot of people don't know. So the penis in the man develops from the clitoris. Everybody when formed as an embryo has a clitoris.
Man or woman?
Man or woman.
But
so here it is.
With
Women,
the XY.
With the XY, the chromosome develops. Causes the clitoris to develop further into a penis. As a matter of fact, whilst it is still in the embryonic form, that is where you get the word phallus.
So basically, the head of a penis is basically an overgrown clitoris.
The entire penis is an overgrown clitoris.
I feel so silly.
A lot of men
because I said
like,
it just because I wanted to hear how it sounded, and I said it, and I feel really silly.
Why? It is what it is. It is what it is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's come back to the withdrawal method.
Yes.
And why it's considered a contraceptive. Who even brought that up because I have it here in my research as traditional contraceptive method. Could it be that at some point it actually did work?
The withdrawal method works.
Okay.
It works. You just have to know that it doesn't work all the time. It's the least effective, and here is why. So men have experienced this at one time or the other.
Okay.
And if you remember, I said there are sometimes you experience orgasm without ejaculation.
Yes, you said that.
And there are sometimes that ejaculation will come before orgasm.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people do not realize that orgasm and ejaculation are two things. So the man who is waiting for orgasm to occur might have already started ejaculating into the woman.
See, you see that line there? I need you to let it sink in. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Life can be anything. To savor dark malts for that rich, dark quality and aroma that captivates. 6% alcohol to turn up the enjoyment. Refreshing lager with a kick of.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria Info.
Here on your number one talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info.
You had to leave it on a cliffhanger.
I
right?
had to.
Okay.
Because I wanted us to hear it again. So please, drop that line again.
So, the withdrawal method is not your most effective method in the sense that, like a lot of people might have just found out this night, ejaculation and orgasm are two different things. In men, typically, they occur at the same time. But there are some times when one will occur without the other. Sometimes one will occur before the other or after the other. So there might be days when you're in the throes of passion and then you've already started ejaculating whilst you're anticipating the climax of your orgasm.
Without knowing
Without knowing that you've already begun to release semen into the woman.
Right.
And if it happens to be that she is in her ovulation period, her heat period, her period where she is ready to take in that sperm or that semen that you've poured into her, it takes one drop. Because that one drop can have over 1 million sperm cells in it.
Yes.
And poof, baby.
That's it.
Who knows, maybe quadruple itself.
So bottom line, if you choose the withdrawal method as your contraceptive of choice, as a man, you need to be able to have a separate mind functioning.
So your spirit needs to be going in and out of her to tell you that, bro, it's like you have
this
poor.
Is the right time to come out.
You have poor.
Or there's no point coming out because it has already
especially
happened.
A lot of our brothers who have decided to saturate their minds with porn. Do you understand?
There's that as well.
Because typically they see this happen in porn. The withdrawal method is usually the go-to method.
Oh.
Right? So the withdrawal method then ending up with masturbation and then ejaculation on the woman. So they are thinking, oh, by the time, once I just feel that, as I just want release,
I could just come
out. Unbeknownst to you, you have poured 12 buckets inside the woman.
I have a caller. Let's take it. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
This is Kelvin.
Hi,
okay, Kelvin.
Yeah, I want to ask something.
Yes, please.
Make clarity on something. There's something I do with my girlfriend the other time. Like, if she's on a period, she's ready to take in. And I release in her. If with any contraceptive, like after sex pill work? Because I thought if once it goes in the over closes. So I don't know that if any before the pill that she will take after the sex will help flush everything out, and how possible is that? That's my question.
All right, we're having conversations about contraception in men, but if you want to go ahead and talk about contraception in women, then the so-called after-sex pill, like any other medication, may or may not work for you, because you have a lot of people who have said, I took the pill, but I still took it, right? On a scale, I can't really give you a scale. More often than not, the quote-unquote after-sex pill, which actually is a pill that is supposed to abort a baby, will work, right? Because a baby comes to... So a lot of people have these arguments that, babies are not babies until they are born. But the thing is, the moment that a sperm cell fertilizes an egg and you form something called a trophoblast, life has already begun because multiplication occurs through mitosis. Multiplication begins to occur. The moment you take this so-called after-sex pill, what you've done is terminated a life, and it will stop the pregnancy from happening more often than not. But there are cases where the baby will tell you that the work that God sent me to come and do in this life, you must pay for diapers. You understand? You must buy baby food. You get. So it happens that way. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
but the conversation today is basically contraception in men.
For men.
Not in women.
So for example...
I just want to get clarity on that.
Okay. But do you have clarity on for yourself as far as the methods you choose to use as a man? Do you have clarity on that?
Like you said, condom is the most. It's I don't believe in withdrawal methods.
Okay.
Because one of my lecturers even said, like, where happiness they come, the time we want to live, like,
Thank you.
With that.
Thank
so
you.
I'm not going to control it.
Thank you.
So I prefer the condom.
All right, then. Thank you, Kevin. Before you go, Victor from Lugbe reached out earlier asking to connect with you. Do you want me to make that happen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
If you can reach out to me on WhatsApp, let's continue the conversation. So I'm sure of what I'm doing. If I go ahead,
I can't reach you on WhatsApp.
You can't reach me on WhatsApp. Okay. How about you give me your number real quick? I'm going to count down to 3, and then you give me a number. Are you ready to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Call it out. Call it out again for me, please. All right. Thank you so much, Kelvin. Thank you. And once I am able to verify on my end, I will send your number. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. All right, then. One question at least, and we'll continue from there. So withdrawal methods, I think we've spoken largely to that, I believe. Yes, we have. Yes. Okay.
Does it work? Like we mentioned earlier, you have to be sure that you are not first ejaculating. So if you insist on that, gentlemen, it is not when you are beginning to feel like you are at the edge before you will now come outside.
So here's what I even think about that. I think it takes a certain kind of clinical precision and mind control to be able to really tell that this is the time. Yes, that's what I think you have to go into it clinically, with the mind of a doctor removed from all of the sensations, or maybe not all of them, but you're not feeling everything so much so that your senses are clouded, and you know when exactly the precise moment to withdraw.
So orgasms, like I mentioned earlier, are as a result of the spasms of many muscles and muscle groups in your perineal region, your pelvic and perineal region, that spreads throughout the whole body. The sensation, the resultant sensation spreads throughout the whole body after there's been stimulation of nerves. I think there's a pudendal nerve and the rest of them. I can't really place them right now. But with that, you understand, you get into that place where you're about to. Now, the way it feels is as though something is like imagine something happening from a spot and then it's beginning to spread. All a man is thinking of at that point in time is every other place where his focus is on, it shifts from there to his perineum.
Because that's where the sensations are.
So this is focusing on that sensation to ensure that it spreads all over him. So at that point in time, the number one thing he's thinking of is that feeling, not even what is coming from his body. Do you understand? That's why many sisters at that point in time. So
he's focusing more on the orgasm than the ejaculation.
Exactly. That's why many
go by the definition.
Pretty much. That's why many sisters at that point in time can get the man's pin for his ATM.
Where you have to be brutal as a woman to ask at that point in time.
Oh no, there are women like that. So what's your pin? What's your pin? 7.
Call me mommy.
7.
Call me mommy.
Mommy.
I mean, I'm laughing. I don't mean to. This is a very serious business for the men who understand what it is to experience this kind of thing. Forgive me for sidetracking. So withdrawal method. It's okay. It's okay. Let's take a call. Hello.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
This is Atese calling from my camera.
Welcome, Atese.
The big one.
My Oga.
The big one.
My Oga.
This one, I'm warning you for the last time. Don't spoil my Somi for me. I'm saying.
I should not spoil your Somi for you.
Don't spoil my Somi for me.
Your Somi says she wants to learn.
I want to learn, actually. Atese.
Mama came to cut one.
Okay. So Senator here with a question. He says, men buying and using manpower from these Agbo women, hope it doesn't have an effect.
Well,
I don't even know what that is. There's a thing called manpower?
So it's pretty much a mixture of herbs that end up being aphrodisiacs. Yes. So aphrodisiacs that are usually, natural herbs, I don't usually think that they are dangerous per se, because they're naturally occurring.
Will it boost your virility so much so that you need to consider contraception? Because that's what we're talking about, actually.
Well, I don't thought, it will. Okay. It will. It will. I mean, you're having people who are boosting their virility and boosting their libido with things as simple as coconut and banana and
cloves
and debino and cloves.
Cloves, my lord.
Auntie, why are you sounding so excited? What do you know about cloves?
I deal in the art of a specific kind
y'all
of
don't know what cloves mean. We're talking about canabari.
I've had people. So for me, it has different effects. I think depending on your anatomy. Since we have an anatomist in the building, for some people when I make it, because I use cloves. For some people when I make it, they're like, give me 12 more bottles. I have work to do. So it has that aphrodisiac effect I've been able to deduce. And then for some other people, it puts them to sleep. So
I am some other people.
But cloves, yeah? Oof, yeah. Cloves. So good. So good. But we're talking about contraceptives here, not how to boost your virility, man.
See how you went off it.
So, Senator, I'm saying this to answer Senator.
I was saying that I want to spoil you. I say now you have heard. Well, the close.
Okay. So, Senator, we're talking about contraceptives. If what you're looking at is boosting your ability to deliver in the other room, then perhaps that is an effect that the manpower would have. He said there's also the pharmaceutical manpower. Well,
so it depends on what you mean by effect. Are you saying does it have
adverse effect? Yes, we need to be clear on that.
So if there's anything I've come to understand or learned, the over dependence on drugs for anything, will affect you in the long run.
Even contraception, if you're dealing with the injectables, for example?
Yes. Everything has an effect in the long run. So you want to be mindful of how you use them.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, Somi.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, my name is Harry.
Welcome, Henry.
Yeah. Why this discussion does not feel interested? I say one time inside my penny.
I'm sorry, what? What?
Discussion, I just interesting. I say one inside the penny, go see everything then.
Oh, Abbas. We're learning. This is an avenue to learn.
I don't listen to you to try to ask question. I say, you won't go inside the man's penny.
So the one thing that I would do is represent the women here on this platform.
Come on.
Because I know that a lot of the ladies are shy. So
And
I'm
they
trying to
will not
ask
come
as
and
many
ask.
questions. Do you understand?
They will not come and ask.
Well.
She's standing for the ladies.
Yes, that's all. That's all. All right then, thank you. Speaking of ladies, on Facebook, I actually have two women checking in, just saying good evening.
Oh, wow, they called me the doctor.
Vivian
Aw.
Happiness said, good evening, dear. Well, good evening back to you. And Hafsat Muaz wrote in saying, good evening, Somi and the doctor. Oshe,
I'm a doctor now.
Oshe
Oh,
doctor.
sweet.
I have a voice note here. We'll play it and then we'll come back and wrap up the conversation. It's almost 11:15. Let's listen to what I know who this person is. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Good evening, Nigerian Info. Nice conversation. My name is Victor.
Okay.
From the way, and then been listening with keen interest. Not that I'm thinking of any of these.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Serious contraceptive methods. I think the traditional one, the condom and the withdrawal method, works very well for me. But again, I just, something caught my interest. This is your research work, really. It's an interesting. I being a science student, and then I'm just thinking about the process of all of that. Now, I just have a question. I don't know if you got to conclude your research work, to know timeline, dosage, how many meals can you take at a time? With your lab rats or the lab rats now, they say 21 days. That's what the experiment lasts. So, for humans, how long? And you say reversible. So if you stop taking it, for how long is it going to reverse?
Before, yes.
Not that I'm thinking,
No, not at all.
Serious, really.
Yeah.
The quicker actions are better. But
Yeah.
I just want to know, just for curiosity's sake. Really, it was very interesting to me, really. And this, thank you. I think I'll just stop so I don't get it longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. That's the mind of a scientist. I always want to know. So I carried out this research back in the year 2008. The three groups, you had the control group, then the three groups, which were the minimum, medium, and maximum. I think the minimum, forgive me here, I might have forgotten, but it was based on milliliters per, I've forgotten now, but it was at a measurement of the concentration. There was the one that was at, I think it was 20 or so. There was 20, there was 40, and then there was pure concentration. 20 milliliters per... God help me. But bro, forgive me, it's been over 17 years since I did this. In the rats, you understand, after 21 days, these effects were noted. Now, those that made it to the end and then we allowed the thing reverse in them, there was a reversal. Like the ones that, because not all of them were slaughtered at the end of the day. I think I left one or two. There was a reversal that occurred from the group. Yeah. But at the end of the day...
So how long did it take for the process to reverse and the body to revert? I think what I heard you say is that the new cells are grown.
Yeah.
So how long? At least for the Worcester rats that you used.
For the Worcester rats, the ones we initially slaughtered was at 21 days. Then the ones that we left to survive were about a month after.
That's when they...
Yes.
They regenerated.
So the ones that I left to survive, about a month after. So I stopped at the 21 days, stopped the administration of the neem.
Right.
And then, observed them till that end of 30 days, killed them, put it, and we found out that there was a regeneration, basically.
Fully regenerated or
Fully.
still in the process?
Fully.
Okay.
And according to the research that I had also checked, because you can actually go and check it out online, it's still there. So many other researchers have already carried out this research. There was a consistent regeneration for all of these animals.
Okay.
Right, who carried it out. I did not.
So what are
do
the
it for
key words for
humans.
somebody who is researching, just to be sure?
Just search effect of Azadirachta indica.
Mbano, give us this.
Effect of neem. Effect
Neem
of
is
neem
N-W-E-M?
extract, yes.
Okay.
N-W-E-M. Effect of neem extract on sperm cell genesis.
Genesis.
Yes, or sperm cell creation. You
Okay.
see the effect.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Thank you for that. Let's see. Few messages and we will have to wrap it up. I mean, the only other one that we didn't touch on is periodic abstinence. So there's abstinence and there's periodic abstinence. Periodic abstinence is limiting sexual intercourse to safe days during the menstrual cycle. I think perhaps there would be a time when we would need to educate ourselves on that one as well. Some men don't understand the woman's cycle and don't understand when she's considered safe, when she's not. Even some women don't understand their cycle,
So
because it can vary.
In simple English,
Yes.
on safe days, you can pour one entire basin of semen in the woman and she will not take it.
Yeah, but the key thing is knowing
when
those
it
safe
is.
days.
Yeah.
It's not a conversation we can have right now, but that's considered the second traditional method here, other than the other methods that we have used. And this is contraceptive options for men.
Yeah.
And this is where we're bringing the conversation to a close, but let's quickly take the messages. Let's see. What does this one say here? Thank you, Somi, and the guest for educating us. Thank you so much for your message. A question here from Daniel from AYA. Please, does contraceptive pill cause high BP? Again, you've brought it to the women. We're talking about men today, but I'll ask it anyway. See if the big one can weigh in on it. My friend is complaining that since his wife started using the contraceptive pill, she began having high BP before she stopped. Does it have adverse effects like constant high BP? Is this something you can speak to?
I've never heard of medication that causes high BP. I've heard of medication that controls high BP. There are several factors that lead to high BP. Number one being stress. Secondly, genetic factors. Number three, lifestyle choices. If genetically speaking, you have a lot of people who have high blood pressure in your family, you are most likely going to have it. If you allow yourself get under stress too much, by stress, overworking yourself, or you're thinking too much, or you're letting problems get the best of you, you're most likely to get it. If you're always in a fight with your friend, should go and find out that he's not the one that has caused her problems. There's sometimes that high blood pressure is caused by pregnancy-induced high blood pressure, just like you have pregnancy-induced diabetes. Lifestyle choices, like I mentioned, you decide not to exercise, you're tardy with your choice of food, you eat anyhow, you eat a lot of high cholesterol foods, you're most likely going to find yourself having high blood pressure. And what is high blood pressure? A lot of people don't understand what it is. It's very simple. Your blood vessels are clogged up by too much fatty tissue, right? And so your heart has to pump harder to get blood through your blood vessels. It's just like when you have a pipe. Imagine when you are pouring water through a pipe.
Yeah, the pressure.
If the pressure is high, the water comes out more. If you press the mouth of the hose, what happens? It shoots even faster and with more. That's basically what blood pressure is. So your blood vessels are clogged. They need to be unclogged for your blood to flow at normal speed. And if you don't do that on time, your heart overworks and then begins to have a lot of atherosclerosis, you have cardiac arrhythmia, you have palpitation of the heart, different things. Sometimes your heart swells up because it's been working extra time. Your heart is a muscle. And the more you work a muscle, what happens? It grows bigger.
So I will add to that, Daniel from AYA, you also want to tell your friend, alongside some of the things that the big one has suggested, you also want to make sure that his wife gets a proper medical checkup. Because one thing that I will be starting next week's conversation on around contraceptive options for women are the myths that surround it. Because you usually hear about these myths when it has to do with the women. For example, this thing that you're saying now, that your friend is saying or that his wife is experiencing, if you do a proper check, you find out that there's some other underlying cause. There's some other key myths as well that we've heard. Some have said that contraceptives cause cancer. Some have said it makes women become promiscuous. We've heard all sorts of myths. We're going to be breaking down all of that next week when we start the conversation around contraceptive options for women. But we have to bring it to a close today on this one. I don't know. Can I play this? One last voice note.
Good evening, Ma, and the big one. Seriously, the topic you guys are discussing on right now, it's an educative and, let me say, a very, very interesting topic. And
Thank
seriously, I never knew that with both ejaculation and orgasm are two different things. Seriously. So you mean to say the watery this thing that used to come out actually impregnate a woman? So, and that is what I'm getting confused at.
Okay.
Is it that just that watery ejaculation sperm that you're talking about that can actually impregnate a woman?
No. So let me explain again. So you see that clear fluid that comes out, what people call pre-cum, is seminal fluid. It's supposed to help with the traveling of the sperm cells. The sperm cells will travel in that medium.
It is the vehicle that travels the sperm.
For them to travel within. Now, when you are having sex and the pre-cum comes at first, it helps also with lubrication. Good. But then, when ejaculation proper...
So pre-cum is different from when you ejaculate?
Pre-cum is just the clear fluid.
Just the clear,
yes.
Not necessarily transporting the sperm. Or in some cases it might.
That pre-cum is the same fluid that is still in your body that will help the sperm also travel, the sperm cells. Now, pre-cum, quote-unquote, seminal fluid, and sperm cells come together to form the whitish fluid thing. Whitish fluid, draw, that thing that you see. That thing is called semen.
Right.
Now, when a man is about to orgasm, he feels a sensation rushing through him. Now, there are some times that the mixture of sperm cell and that fluid that have mixed together to form semen may have already started pouring out into the woman.
Right.
At that point of orgasm.
So
right?
So just to keep it simple and short because of time, sometimes the orgasm and the ejaculation happen at the same time.
Yes.
Sometimes the ejaculation starts to happen before the man orgasms.
Yes.
And sometimes
happens
a man
after.
can orgasm
without an ejaculation.
Without an ejaculation.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's
simple and short. So please understand, it's not that clear fluid, but the whitish, milkish fluid that comes out, that final one that in your mind you have done something.
I need to break this table, and yes, tell me that I'm doing it as if I want to enter inside the penis. No problem. I'm learning, and I'm helping us all to learn as well. Is it possible that pre-cum, for some people, their pre-cum is actually the full package?
No, it's not.
Never.
No.
Okay. So as long as it's watery, as he called it, it is to some extent considered safer than the one that comes full throttle, looking different in color, texture.
Again. So, gentlemen, there are some times that you have gotten to that point where you're about to ejaculate, when you're about to orgasm, you have not started orgasming, but you see your fluid shooting out. That already sometimes happens within the woman. That fluid that shoots out, that small quantity that shoots out, can go ahead and impregnate her even before you have orgasm. And sometimes that can happen 2 seconds before. 2 seconds is enough time, and you're a daddy.
You're a dada. Don't dada. All right, I have to say thank you to the big one. This is where we wrap our body and soul for tonight. You have been amazing. Glad to see you with your medical side on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, the night show continues with the late night request after this.
From Calabar to Jos, Orca.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.